Hey guys, how's everyone doing?
Hey.
All right.
Hi.
Hey, thanks everyone for joining us on our live stream here, all about Midsummer Scream. Thanks so much for all your support in light of the news that unfortunately we had to postpone Midsummer Scream from this year to next year, July 9th through the 11th, 2021. But the amount of support we've received so far from all of our guests and vendors and sponsors and everything is pretty amazing. So thank you so much. And we hope to stay involved with you guys and the Halloween community this year and every day leading up to next year's event. Claire?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. And it was a devastating blow for us to have to say goodbye to 2020. However, we are very much looking forward to 2021. We know it was the right decision that we had to make, and it was for the good of everyone involved, including all of you. And I just want to do a special shout out to our white bats who have been so supportive and so enthusiastic, and we appreciate you guys so much. And we just can't wait to put on the best show ever for you guys in 2021 and with your help. And keep posted to social media. We are going to be doing all kinds of fun stuff. You'll probably be sick of us. So thanks, you guys.
And Gary, what would you like to tell everyone? Anything?
Well, welcome everyone tonight. This is going to be exciting. We do miss you guys. Claire is correct. We did have to cancel, but I have to tell you, with watching everything else that had been canceled because of the COVID, and then once we saw that the Orange County Fair and the LA County Fair canceled, we knew we had made the right decision. But the decision was really about keeping everyone safe. And we love you as a community, and that was one of the big factors in canceling this year. But we're moving forward with next year, which gives us an opportunity to have everything be bigger and better. And a lot of events are taking that as an incentive also. So anyway, have a great time tonight, and we will see you soon.
All right, Rick, take it away.
Sure. Thank you, everybody, again, for tuning in with us tonight. We're excited to have you in this cool Midsummer Scream broadcast. This is all kind of new to us. So if there are hiccups along the way, we know that you'll love us anyway. Hell, if American Idol can do it, Midsummer Scream can do it, right? So we're here tonight with you. Shout out to everybody who has given us so much support. The community has really rallied around us since we made our really difficult decision about this year's big show. We appreciate that, and we love you guys. We already miss the hell out of you, but we're going to be very active here on social media, as you are seeing now. Also, before I forget, a huge shout out to graduates, class of 2020, all over the United States. You guys got completely shafted, including shout out to my daughter, Emily West. Didn't get to have your big senior finale of the year. So we love you, and a big Midsummer Scream shout out to all of our grads. And with that, let's get started with tonight's Graveside Chat. All right, I have some special guests tonight. First of all, holy crap, it's Diane Meyer. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Diane Meyer. She is from, of course, Rotten Apple 907, and she's also the membership director for Cal Haunt here in Southern California. Diane, good to see you.
Hi, Rick. How are you?
I am just COVID dandy. Thank you. So people are actually watching from all over the world, so no pressure, but certainly a lot of folks that are tuning in tonight are from the Southern California area, and they are obviously very, very aware of Rotten Apple and what you guys do. But why don't you go ahead and, for the new kids or those that need the refresher, give us some information on what Rotten Apple is, how it started, and how it has evolved over the years, and how long you've been doing it.
Rotten Apple is our home haunt that we have, that we put up in the front yard. It started out, back when we first moved into our house 40 some odd years ago, just as a yard display like everybody else. And after we had our daughter, and she was born October 26th, she very much loved Halloween. And so then we started throwing Halloween parties for her. And then we started doing haunted houses inside the house. So that way her party guests would have to go through. And so then for a lot of years, it went through our house. And then I got a little upset and decided out. And so it then moved out into our front yard. And so we've been doing it for over, well, if you include the yard haunts, over 30 years.
That's fantastic. That's really, really great. Yeah. And also cow haunts. How did that, you got involved in cow haunts at some point? How did that
yeah, at some point, back in the day, because I'm old, back in the day, there was no place to get information. There was, the internet was just starting to get, information and stuff. So my daughter actually is the one that found cow haunts, and she joined. Okay. And then I got permission to join. She let me join. And
well, there you go. It was very nice of her. It was very fortuitous. Yeah, that was great.
And we're going, can we share your thing? And she said, yes, you can come in. And so it's a great group. I mean, I think we're on our 14th year or something, 13th year that we've been a member. And it's a great group. It has helped us so much. Back in the days, we didn't know how to do any of the animatronics or any of this stuff. And we had a lot of knowledgeable people like David McDermott, which is still part of Cow Haunts now, Scary Terry and all these different people. And even, the people from Haunting Hologrounds and stuff that were part of Cow Haunts and helped us learn what we are. And stuff. It's a great thing. You can go do all sorts of projects and stuff, and everybody learns a lot. And it's great. I mean, you can tell how much it means to everybody because we're all having serious withdrawals right now. I just went to drop off something at someone's houses, and we're just having big, we're out there for an hour talking to each other, because we're missing each other greatly.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those of you that don't necessarily know or remember, Cow Haunts also, they're the group that does the tremendous entryway to the Hall of Shadows at Midsummer Scream every year. And last year was Tiki Terror. And this year was going to be Trick or Treat Lane, which was going to be over twice as big as last year's entry experience, if you can believe that. But the silver lining is, we are just going to put all that on ice. And in 2021, for our 5th anniversary, Cow Haunts is going to kick major ass and do a fantastic Trick or Treat Lane for you guys. So we haven't forgotten. We won't forget. And I'm sure everybody watching is jumping up and down excited about that, Diane.
Yeah, everything's got put in storage. And so everything's going to, we figured it'll give us, hey, we thought of so much to do just at this time. What a year, what we can come up with will be really great. Gives us more time to think of cool things.
You bet. Well, thank you. Stand by. I'm going to bring another guest in. We'll see him pop up here. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's Chris Stafford, and he is one of the founding partners and the CEO of 13th Floor Entertainment Group. They have a plethora of haunted attractions across the United States. And for those of you Angelinos watching, they own the LA Haunted Hayride right here in our own backyard at Griffith Park. And Chris, welcome to our chat, man. Good to see you.
Yeah. Thanks, Rick. Good to see you as well. Thanks to you and David and Claire for having me on tonight. This will be fun.
You bet, man. So like with Diane, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about the how you guys created 13th Floor and how it's evolved over the years.
Yeah, how it all started was I had a friend of mine call me up one day when I was in high school and say, do you want to go scare some people tonight? And I said, sure. Are we going to get arrested or, what does this look like? And his family owned a local haunted house. And so I went out and worked there, was, kind of bit by the bug, and ended up meeting Warren Connard, one of my business partners in 13th Floor, working there as teenagers. And, working there, we always talked about what it would be like if we did our own haunted house one day. And ultimately, we ended up doing that together in 2002. Originally just started as a hobby, it was how we celebrated Halloween. But it kind of grew from there. And about 2006, I started thinking about maybe we could grow the business, outside of what we were doing. And, in 2008, we actually opened our second haunted house together, which was the original 13th Floor haunted house in Denver. And from there, we actually the next year, through an industry association, we met a couple of guys from Austin, Texas, from the House of Torment in Austin. That was Dan McCullough and John Love. And we found out that we, really thought about the business the same way. We were both looking to grow outside of our home markets and grow the business. And so we did that. In 2010, we opened 13th Floor Haunted House San Antonio together as a joint venture. And since then, really just haven't looked back. We've been opening haunted houses ever since. Some that we're opening from the ground up and building as new experiences, and other ones that we've acquired, as with the LA Hayride. But yeah, we've just been growing the business. We're up to 15 attractions now across the country. And in addition to that, we have a location-based entertainment business that has room escape venues and axe throwing venues. So that's kind of how it all started and how we got to where we're at.
That's great, and it's really exciting, and you guys are really good people. So it's not just a matter of some corporate, buyout of these haunts or whatever, and kind of generalizing over everything. You guys, every one of your attractions has its own flavor and background, and you certainly embellish that and really, really go for it. I've been to your haunt in New Orleans. And of course, I've been here to last year's Midnight Falls at the LA Haunted Hayride, and phenomenal, good stuff. I hope to see more of your attractions in the coming years. Let's segue using that. I don't know how many attractions I'm going to be seeing this year at Halloween. Sure. So that's the big question on everybody's mind is, we live in a very different world suddenly in just a matter of a couple months, and we have not as mankind faced this in modern history together. And so we're kind of running around like ants that have baby powder sprinkled all over us. It's like, somebody says to do this. No, don't wear a mask. Yes, wear a mask. Yeah. Take this medicine. Don't take. It's kind of crazy pants right now, but we all know that this has been detrimental to gatherings. It's been detrimental to theme parks, obviously, to large scale conventions, to even hanging out with your friends on a weekend and having, some drinks and barbecue or whatever. We're all kind of holed up in house. And so the question then is, what has COVID-19 immediately meant for 13th Floor? And also what does it mean for the immediate horizon being the Halloween season for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the immediate impact is really felt most with our room escape and axe throwing business, because of course those are year-round businesses that employ people, and of course we had to shut those down. The good news is we have actually our first location will be reopening in Texas this week. So there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel in certain markets. Every market is different. But yeah, the immediate impact has been primarily there. And then, we have had to furlough employees just like a lot of businesses have, and, try to do our best to keep the company strong for the fall, and the optimistic hope that we're going to be running attractions all over the country again. So.
Yeah. And now LA Haunted Hayride is special to us because it's here in part of Southern California. It's also special because logistically, as far as social distancing standards that we know of today, it's pretty problematic, logistic wise, getting jammed in with 30 other people on a hayride. Have you guys talked about how you're going to kind of tackle that issue at this point? Or are you kind of waiting and seeing?
It's Rick, I've never wished I had a crystal ball more than in the past couple months, to see what the future brings. If we all think about even how things have changed just in the last couple months, across the country, it's just really hard to think about what it's going to look like. Unfortunately, a lot of what you'll hear from me right now is we just don't know yet. I don't think anybody knows. No. For purposes of discussion tonight, I can do my best to speculate and maybe throw some hypothetical ideas out there. But just like everyone, we're kind of in a waiting pattern, like you said, waiting to see how things are. The good news is it's pretty simple. The better things get in the world, the better our chances are to celebrate Halloween the way that we all want to celebrate it, and that's with haunted attractions. So if one thing I know though is that Halloween and haunted attraction people are resourceful and they're creative, And although it might not look exactly as it's looked in the past, we're going to figure out a way to celebrate for sure. So I could jump into some of the things, as it relates to the hayride and kind of, speculate and share some of my ideas. Is that what you'd like me to do?
Yeah, sure. I think everybody wants to hear that.
Okay, for the hayride particular, I think one of the benefits is it is all outdoors, right? So not a lot of concern about confined spaces with a lot of people. You're out in the park, there's fresh air. We'll have to adjust the way we do things, sure, but we can do that. In fact, we need to do that, right? We had a very busy season last year, and as many of you likely know, busier than we expected. And we have to own that. There were some operational issues that we need to address. So we find ourselves in a really interesting situation because some of the things that we will do in response to the virus are things that we were already planning to implement as well. Timed entry is something we were already working on, trying to spread our attendance out over an evening more evenly. I don't want to speak too soon because there's technology involved, but many of our locations, the hayride included, we've been working on either reserved queuing or virtual queuing to reduce the long wait lines that we've had. So all these things we've been working on to ensure kind of a better customer experience already, to make the events more enjoyable. So definitely they become a lot more applicable in light of what we're going through right now. So, but yeah, still trying to figure it out, man. Still waiting to see what happens and, gathering as much data as we can. I think the good news is that by the time Halloween season rolls around, we're going to have a lot more data, not just on the virus, but on how to operate venues safely, right? It's happening all around us right now, which is good. Attractions are opening all over the country. So being able to watch that and learn from that, I think is going to be a really great resource for us.
That's great. Thanks for that insight, man. Hang out because we're going to come back. I'm going to talk to Diane for a little bit, and then we're going to open up the floor to questions from fans that are watching. So if you happen to be watching, folks, on Facebook, make sure to send your questions in. And Mr. Markland in the background, he's our Wizard of Oz tonight. He is going to queue up some of the questions for Diane and for Chris. So go ahead and start sending those questions now, and David's going to start aggregating those. In the meantime, I'm going to bring back Diane. Hello, Diane. And
Hello, Mr.
there you go. So basically, Chris's company, they own these haunted attractions. They're built, they're up, they're year round, except for like Hayride, which has to be built every season. But pretty much everything is in place. Now, Cal Haunts, including Rotten Apple, these are seasonal things that you guys plan all year, and then you execute over a month or so to build these haunts in your own homes. And it's not a company. You're not having to worry about furloughing people or things like that, but you do have volunteer teams. And this stuff takes a lot of work and a lot of money and a lot of time and blood, sweat, and tears. And obviously, the landscape has changed here in Southern California and just about everywhere in the world, unless you happen to live on top of Everest. So I know that you guys have had to make some difficult decisions like we have with Midsummer. So can you go ahead and talk to the community about what's going to happen with Rotten Apple this year?
Well, Rotten Apple, this was supposed to be our 30th year of doing walkthroughs. So we had in the talks of some real cool, what we thought was going to be a real cool haunt. And in light of what's going on, we have several people. I mean, in our haunt, it's very small. And we've got the tents and it's very enclosed and very, it gets really hot and sweaty in there. And there's a lot of people that go through. We have several people in our crew that do not have the best of health, that if they were to get the virus, it could cause some serious damage. That's including my husband. And so we've had to make the hard decision that we won't do the walkthrough this year. And so, but we're going to do a great display. Now, as we have been talking about trying to come up with a good idea for the display, we have figured out actually doing a really cool display is harder to come up with than a walkthrough, which makes no sense because there's a whole lot of rooms in a walkthrough that you have to figure it out. But what we want to do is Rotten Apple style, but in a display. And the more we started thinking about everybody in the haunt, I mean, we could maybe, we get on an average of 500 to 700 people that are waiting in line along the street. Yeah. Our neighbors are not totally in love with us to begin with. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure in light of that they wouldn't call the city on us and get us shut down for having all those people standing in line in front of their homes.
Sure, of course.
And after we've done all this work, and then for our 30th year, do we want to not do it and or do it and have not everybody be able to come out and enjoy it because they're not comfortable with doing it? So we're still going to have issues with the yard display, because if everybody comes to see the yard display, it's going to get crowded and our neighbors will totally hate us. But I think that's a better way for us this year. And so we're trying to come up with ideas, and that's even hard because, we've all been social distancing, trying to stay away from each other and all that. So we're still working on what we're going to do, but we've got some cool ideas.
Yeah. Well, I'm very sorry to hear that. And we've obviously been through similar things where the team really had to decide for Midsummer Scream, do we want our 5th anniversary to be a lame duck because of COVID, or do we postpone and have next year be just an amazing show and an amazing 5th anniversary? So I think that you guys have made the right decision too. As hard to hear, as it is, because I'm a huge fan, obviously, of what you guys do, as is everybody else watching this. And I'm sure there got to be some first timers watching this video that were all, excited to go see Rotten Apple, that have seen it on videos and heard you guys on different websites and blogs and things like that. And it's heartbreaking that you guys aren't able to do that this year.
Well,
but
we were going
given
to
the
try
circumstances,
we were trying to kind of hope and we were kind of trying to wait as long before we decided. I kind of got outvoted, truthfully. Our haunt is a democracy, and I kind of got, because I kept going, well, maybe we can do it, maybe, and the reality is, if we're going to do the 30th year the way we want to do it, we have to be working now, and that's not possible. And we can work on a yard display and be able to get it done and do a really cool yard display. But for what we want to do for the 30th year, we can't do unless we start now. And that's not something we can do right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what's the temperature as far as the rest of the haunter community? Like, I'm sure that all the Cal Haunts people, you guys all talk, and I know you may not necessarily be able to speak for other haunts, but what is the general consensus that you're hearing? Are we going to be seeing a lot more yard displays, you think, this year?
Yeah, from a great deal of the people. There are some that are, but the great deal of people are talking about just going to yard displays because they just don't want to take the chance. And as somebody pointed out to me, I was with one of the Cal Haunts people yesterday, and they pointed out, if somebody gets sick in our haunt, or dies, what legally happens to us? Business, they're kind of covered, but for us, we're not. Could somebody come in, because they came to our haunt and they caught the coronavirus and died? So there's a whole lot of stuff that's involved in it. There is some haunt, like I talked to Randy and Michelle from Desert McKay Manor was over here yesterday, stopped by yesterday, and we were talking, and they're on their way to, their place is out in Whitewater on the way to Palm Springs, and theirs is all outdoors. They have no roof and all that. And Randy was saying that they are going to go ahead and do it. And they're going to got a fogger that's going to sanitize everything, and they'll go through every, he says that it won't smell like Halloween. It's going to smell like disinfectant, but they're going to get it. They figured out a way that they think they can social distance everybody and put only so many through. And so they're going to go ahead and do it. And so there might be a few, but for the most part, everybody that I know, unless all of a sudden we all hear, of course we won't, because we've pretty well cut it off. But some people are still trying to hold out hope, but for the most part, everybody's just going, no, we're just going to, but everybody's determined to do really cool yard displays. They want to do Halloween, they're going to do, they're going to do it up.
Yeah, nobody does yard displays like Southern California. So I know that we're good for a fact. I know that we're good in that department. It's just sad to see so many fantastic haunters kind of muted this year creatively. But we will all get through this as a community together. We'll bring Chris back because we got some questions coming in. Let's see. Diane, maybe you're better equipped to handle this question. Mason asks, what is some advice you can offer to smaller home haunts that are finally getting some light in the community?
Watch what you wish for. Lots of people does not always help. I remember way back in the day when we just wanted to get people here, and now we have people that were going. And so when you're small, you want more people. But then your neighbors don't, as you get bigger, the neighbors don't appreciate you. When it's small, the neighbors think, oh, that's cool. You have a nice little haunt and that's cool. And all the neighbors will like it and they all party and they do the whole thing. As you get bigger, you got to watch what you wish for and stuff. I mean, I love our home haunt. It'll be sad the day we ever have to give it up because it's, it's really cool, but just be careful. I don't know. You just got to be careful about not getting too much too fast.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that. And that's great advice. Thank you. And of course, it really sucks for home haunts that have really kind of like started getting into that spotlight. And then suddenly the big squash has landed on everybody this year. So Mason, you and your team hang in there, and all the other haunters that are just starting this journey, hang in there. This is going to be 1 year of many for you guys. So we will get there. Promise. May take a little bit longer this time around, but Halloween will come back full and better than it's ever been here in Southern California. Chris, have a question for you. And I'm scrolling down the side from Debbie. She says, if you do Haunted Hayride again this year, will it be the same theme?
So it'll be the same overall storyline, right? Last year was a big change for us, how we created the town, the magical place of Midnight Falls. And we wanted to, it was really a multi-year initiative to lean into that backstory, right? And explore different parts of the town. And this year, not going to give anything away. Obviously, there's a lot that's still up in the air, but we did redesign one of the attractions completely to be themed around kind of a different part of the town, a different element of the town, and also themed around a character that was pretty popular on the Midnight Falls Midway last year. So yeah, if the hayride is running, we're going to lean into Midnight Falls further, but you're going to see some new parts of Midnight Falls that you haven't seen before.
Fantastic. The Midnight Falls Proctology Department. No, that's not a winner. That's not.
You had that one up, Rick. That one's
Hell
all you.
Yeah, absolutely. All my patients are asses. It's fantastic. It'll be great. All right, moving on. Let's see. What else do we, there was another good question here. What advice can you give to students? And this, both of you guys could answer this. What advice can you give to students building college haunts to prepare and prove to their schools we can still run a safe campus haunt?
You want to go, Diane, or?
Oh, no, go ahead, Chris.
Okay. Listen, I think one of the things I'd say first and foremost, of course, is just stay really tuned in to your city, county, and state guidelines, as we get closer to the season, and make sure that you fully understand, what those expectations are. But something I've been telling a lot of people is they've explained to people, what is a haunted attraction? What is a haunted event? When you look at our attendance over our run, you'd put us in the category of a large event, but in reality, that attendance comes over, say a 6 to 8 week period for some of the larger attractions, and even the smaller ones over several weeks. So when you chunk it down into the nightly attendance, you start to get, more down into the neighborhood of smaller entertainment venues versus like a large concert or sporting event. So, helping them to understand, they all just come out and they see everybody there at one time on a Saturday night, and they think, oh, this is a large event. Some people may not want to hear this, but with time ticketing and also some different queuing methodologies, maybe a lot of attractions not being as free flow as they were, maybe more of a linear fashion, I think you can adhere to the distancing guidelines that you're going to need to adhere to, or that we expect you're going to need to adhere to, by modifying the way people experience the attraction. And once again, it might not be the greatest thing everybody's heard, but I would rather hear that as a possibility of experiencing a haunted attraction this fall, as opposed to not being able to. So,
right. Good advice. Diane, do you have anything to throw in there?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those that, the more you do abide by the city in the fire department and all that kind of, they will work with you if they know that you've thought this all through ahead of time. You have all your fire extinguishers, go buy all the city stuff. And this year it's going to be even more important because they are going to be worried about the virus and all that and being safe. And if you can show them, look, we've thought this through, how we can keep the people separated and all that. If you think and go in with all the knowledge ahead of time, then it's easier. People are a whole lot easier. I mean, when we first did the haunt, we didn't get a permit or anything like that. We were told early on we didn't have to have anything. And then when one of our lovely neighbors moved in, they called the city on us and we got shut down. And when the fire department came out to check us out, they figured out that we actually had everything we needed. We had the emergency exits. We had all the stuff that they needed. So they only got about halfway through the haunt and they said, "You're fine. Don't worry about it." And they know ahead of time that we're prepared. And if you go in there like that, well, then they treat you a whole lot differently.
Sure.
And not something you're just trying to get away with stuff.
Yeah, Diane, I would add to that, even, at a commercial attraction level, just preparing, like you said, prepare. That's what we're doing right now. We don't know exactly what this is going to look like right now, but we're going to prepare as best we can on everything we have and make sure we're covering all the bases. And at some point between now and in the season, you have to take that preparation and turn it into your plan, right? And then you share that plan, to your point, with the people that are going to have an interest in what you guys are doing. So I think that's great advice.
I have a question for you guys. David is behind the curtain. So David, no need to throw this question up because I don't want to specifically call any event out, per se, but what do you guys think about haunted attractions or that type of attraction that are planning already to open, say, in a couple of weeks? Do you think we're ready, or what do you guys think about that? What's your gut check on that?
You want to go first, Diane?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm one of those that I think we should wait. I think it's far too soon. And I can see, August, September, maybe back in there, seeing how things go. Right now, it's way too soon. I don't even want to go into a restaurant, let alone any place else. I don't even want to go to the market. And so to open up some kind of attraction, I know everybody's frustrated and everybody wants to get out and everybody wants to do all the stuff, but we don't want to go back where we just came from. And I'm afraid we're going to end up, if we don't behave, we will not have Halloween. There will, because if we don't watch it, and we got to be careful what's happening. And as much as we all want to bury our heads, it's, and not wear the masks and do all that stuff. I mean, I'm claustrophobic. A mask is horrible for me, but I'll do it.
Yeah.
And stuff. And I mean, even when we thought about doing the haunt, and even we were talking about everybody having to have a mask when we were talking about doing the haunt even.
Yeah. Chris, what do you think?
I'll add to what Diane said. I agree with you, Diane. I think it's too soon. Now, that being said, I would add the caveat that, different parts of the country are very different right now. So, it really it would depend to me a lot on where the location was and kind of what the environment was there. I would say at any one of the places that we have, I agree with you. I feel it's a little too soon. I think we still have a lot left to learn and to study before taking that on.
I do agree with both of you. And just to further that a little bit more, Chris, you have a property in New Orleans, and other than Southern California, I don't know that anybody does Halloween better than New Orleans. I went and saw that last year firsthand, and it was mind blowing. The entire city turns up for that. What do you think that Halloween is looking like at the moment for New Orleans?
Yeah. Not super positive. Everything that I'm hearing is that, really, I know the mayor in New Orleans has come out and said that they don't really want to have any large events until after the New Year. So, I think New Orleans is not in a good place right now. And, I think we all have our fingers crossed it can get better, and hopefully it will get better over the next 4 months, but it's kind of a wait and see there because, you know, I know the mayor there has been very vocal about not having events. And that, I mean, listen, that's a city that has, you know, going back to my previous point, Halloween, there is a large event, maybe not our haunted house particularly, but, you know, Bourbon Street and the French Quarter during Halloween. I mean, you know, it is a large event, so they've got to be safe. And of course, you know, I hope that they will be able to find a way to celebrate Halloween there as in the city, because it'd be, to your point, it'd be really unfortunate to lose that because it's a pretty magical place that time of year.
Yeah, it is. It's like more than a month of like a Mardi Gras type setting, and it's really beautiful the way that it's done there. So huge love to everybody in New Orleans. Our fingers are crossed for you guys. Great segue into another question from Manuel for Chris, and Diane probably could answer this too. How do you feel about transformative costumes to combine safety and scary, such as decorative face masks?
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to a lot of you guys probably know John Cook, our creative director, about exactly that, you know, and talking to him about working with some of our effects artists, because, you know, the fortunate thing for some of us is the nature of a mask is it's around the face. And if it is decorative and conceal the fact that it's also doing the job that it's supposed to do, you know, obviously it helps in that suspension of disbelief rather than having monsters with cloth masks, you know, running around. So yeah, we've already been looking into that. It's like, how do we incorporate the safety of the mask with also the you know, the theatrical aspects. So I think it's a really good question. And if he's got some great ideas on that, send him along. We'd love to see him.
Diane?
With our when we were talking about doing the haunt, we had discussed trying to do that kind of stuff. And even with our yard display, we may have live people in the yard display. And so we had talked about ways of trying to work it in so that way they're protected. And basically they have their masks. So that way, if they get up close with people, they'll still be okay.
Yeah, perfect. David, you had a question up. I didn't realize that Mr. Markland had a question up that he had pulled. I was just reading off of the side feed here. If you still have that, David, go ahead and throw that up. I forget, I think it was from someone named Alex, I believe. If you have that, go ahead and throw that up. And if not, it just has vanished into the ether. Let's see, there you go. What are your thoughts about a drive-through haunt, leased lot and facades and actors on both sides? What do you guys think about that kind of haunt?
That's probably one of the safer ways of going. I mean, you know, because everybody's in their car, nobody's getting close. It's probably the safer way of doing it. It's just, you know, where do you find the space to do it?
Sure.
I mean, that would be ideal. That would be pretty cool to do.
Chris, what do you think? Can you pull that off?
We've discussed it. You know, I think a drive-through experience for Halloween, like almost like what Diane's talking about, would be more of a display than it would be an interactive experience. You know, if you think about a drive-through Christmas display, right, the sets and the lights are not jumping out and attacking you from both sides. So the last thing we want is people being unsafe, you know, behind the wheel. But that being said, I think it could be done as a really interesting, you know, Halloween display more than a scare attraction, you know, maybe with some little jump scares here and there. But so, yeah, I think it can be done. And, you know, hey, there's a lot of different types of entertainment right now that are looking to, you know, in-car entertainment. I mean, drive-ins are going through this huge resurgence. So, yeah, I mean, you know, hey, fingers crossed that this doesn't, you know, that we don't have to look into these alternative things, but it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, like Halloween people are creative and they're going to figure out a way to celebrate the holiday. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys. And I think to a certain degree that would work as a display. As somebody who designs attractions for a living, there are obviously a lot of restrictions. When you're driving through something in your car, that's not an intimate experience, which basically haunted attractions really rely on that claustrophobic, intimate, setting where you're just inches away from this monster that's lurking on you. And I don't necessarily know that I want somebody charging at my car with a baseball bat or pounding on the hood of my car or coming up to the windows. And I don't know if I want that as a driver. I certainly don't want to roll over anybody, right?
The part like Chris is saying is you're driving and all of a sudden somebody comes up and scares the crap out of you. That's probably not a good thing.
Yeah. So there you go. It's kind of like Lion Country Safari from hell. But so we have a question from Sam for Chris. What would be a drop dead? Let's see. I'm looking. What would be a drop dead date for you to decide if your haunt happens this year or not? Speaking about the LA Haunted Hayride.
Yeah, Sam, I wish I could tell you, man. I mean, listen, we're fortunate and unfortunate with the hayride in the sense that there's a lot of planning that goes into it year round and a lot of work that goes year round. The actual setup of the venue is only over a couple week period. So, we do have, as I said, quite a while before I feel like we have to make that decision. And once again, Sam, if you've got the crystal ball, bring it on, man, because I wish I had one to know. But, we're just monitoring everything as closely as we can. And, we'll make decisions when the time's appropriate.
We've got like 2 more questions that I want to read to you guys, and then we'll go ahead and do some closing thoughts and then wrap this sucker up for the night. From Joshua, what changes will you make to the interior of your haunts to enhance safety measures, like removing claustrophobia tunnels and doorway curtains? I think that is that's a question that we can kind of rearrange to say going forward. I mean, because this year we don't even know what's going to happen, but going forward, is that going to be taken into consideration?
I think with that, I always don't like them anyway, because I don't like the claustrophobic walls. I have one, I'm claustrophobic, and 2, I always get weirded out because I'm thinking, how many thousands of people have gone through here, and same with the curtains at knots and all that. We have this ongoing joke, and whenever say, let's put some car wash up, and I'm going, okay, really, guys? And but you just have to think of creative ways to do this. And I think that we need to be more careful with this kind of stuff. This isn't going to go away just this year. I mean, it's going to be around next year. But we all have, I think for a couple of years, we're going to have to be pretty safe with what we do. And you got to figure that you need to stay enough away from your actors, from the people that are going through your actors. You can scare them, but yet keep your distance. So that way, because these people are going to be yelling and screaming. So whatever they've got is going to be spewing all over you. If you've got a mask that's going to help you, that's going to, but yeah, you got to think about all the surfaces they may touch. You don't want people crawling through things and all that kind of stuff. It's one of those. You got to give some extra thought to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris?
Yeah, I add the same thing that Diane said, removing things that are hanging in the path of travel and, claustrophobia bags or airbags, definitely not anything that's going to touch somebody unnecessarily. So yeah, definitely agree with her on that. I think, on the positive side, a lot of people have said to me, well, how are you going to scare people? And how are you,
you can do it.
And when you think about it, we teach our actors, right? It's like you want to get up close and personal, but you don't want to invade somebody's bubble where, it becomes, too threatening. And so, if you're an arm's length away, that's about 3 feet, right? And with the new distancing guidelines, being 6 feet, they can still be very effective from that distance, especially when you're not expecting it, right? So, I think, and to Diane's point, masks, can prevent people, obviously from having anything come out that would be dangerous to people. But yeah, I think we can, on the positive side of things, instead of everybody thinking right away, hey, there's no way to do this and make it effective, I do think there is a way that it can be effective and safe. But going back to what, Diane said earlier as well, making sure that you have the right people, because, we don't want to have people that might be unnecessarily at risk because of who they are and their demographic involved in anything like that. So,
yeah,
well, I mean,
absolutely.
like our one friend is gonna get one of the Ryobi foggers, and he's gonna put disinfectant. He's gonna put alcohol in it and disinfect his haunt, so that way it can still, you can get people through. So there are ways. You just got to be creative in doing it.
I had a meeting today on electrostatic sprayers. That was probably more than I'd care to know about those, but they're very interesting. But yeah, that type of spray. These are ones that you can cover large areas with really rapidly. So which I think you're seeing a lot of the parks and hotels and different things that are starting to open now. You're probably going to see them in their videos as far as what they're doing to keep things safe. And it's just a better way to apply disinfectant over large areas quickly. To your point, Diane, if he was going to go through and do that, while they were operating, that would be a good way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that snowballs really nicely into our last question that I want to finish with tonight. And this is for both of you guys from a pro haunt perspective and then home haunt perspective. Do you think this pandemic will change the haunt industry for the long term, or is this all temporary?
I kind of think, I think it's going to be for a couple of years, it's going to change, but I think eventually it'll go back to normal. We will forget. It's just like everything else, 9/11, you forgot, we were all terrified, didn't want to go, airplanes and all this, but we eventually forgot. And I think that as we don't see the cases and stuff, well, then it will get back. I think for a couple of years, we're going to be scared, and people are going to be, not really ready to do it right away. But by next year, I think a lot of it will start, unless things change. We don't know what's going to happen. But if it keeps going the way it is, I think, next year it'll be less. But by 2 years from now, I think that we'll be back to normal. We better be.
Yeah, I agree with you, Diane. I think that, hopefully it's just this year. Maybe it will be longer. I do think things will come back the other way. I think there's some things that will change, but like I said at the very beginning, maybe because they need to, and in light of the current situation, they have to, kind of my point on some type of timed entries and timed queuing or reservation-based queuing. That might be here to stay, but that's probably not a bad thing, because it was probably on the professional side a good time to be exploring that. Anyways, I know as a company, like I said, we are already were already exploring it, and now obviously it'll be something that we look to implement across the board. Excuse me, this year. So I think some things like that may stick around, which I think maybe they should.
Right. Well, thank you guys so much. The clock is never our friend, right? When things are getting going and smooth, it's time to kind of wrap things up. But I wanted to thank you guys for spending some time with us tonight. Chris, where can folks find you and your company online?
Yeah, our website is 13thfloor.com, and it's all spelled out. And of course, in the LA area, stay tuned to the LA Haunted Hayride website and Facebook page, and we'll be posting updates there as well.
And how about you, Diane? Where can folks seek you out?
We're at rottenapple907.com. You can find us there, or send us an email, rottenapple907@gmail.com. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, of course. And you guys can stalk me at RickWest999 on Instagram. And of course, Midsummer Scream, all of our socials, midsummerscream.org. And we live on all them social platforms as Midsummer Scream, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Let us know what you guys thought of this. This was kind of our first go at this. And huge thanks to David Markland for kind of taking the controls, and also to Claire Dunlap for throwing out the questions so I could read them. Doing this, looking at the screen while I'm trying not to look at the screen, and then trying to read these tiny little questions with bifocals, it's crazy pants. Anyway, thank you guys. I hope that we were entertaining and informative for you tonight. I hope this felt like a little bit of the Midsummer Scream magic. It certainly did for us, and we appreciate your time as well for tuning in. Wherever you happen to live, anywhere in the world, be careful, stay safe, and show a little extra compassion and love to one another, because we certainly need that in this day and age. And with that, I'm going to say good night. Thank you guys. And David, unless you have anything else to say, I'm good to go. Thank you, everybody. Let us know what you think of tonight's broadcast.